Hello community, today we'll be discussing the things necessary to create the perfect Hitman game. The World of Assassinations was a very good entry into the series, perhaps the best so far. There were a few noticeable things missing, key features that if present were definitely going to elevate it and make it even better. Now, taking the World of Assassinations trilogy as the base we will be working off of when it comes to its level design and core gameplay features, here's how we can make it even better. First off, starting with the gameplay, this is the life and blood of Hitman games and pretty much all games for that matter. This is the main feature you really need to nail, and although World of Assassinations did a very good job, here's a few things it could have used. For starters, the human shield feature. That was a fantastic feature that was originally present in Hitman 2016, but was cut out on a later date. It really is rather weird why it was removed, as it's also fully featured in the predecessor Hitman Absolution. Also, it's a great feature, not just for the loud players, but for stealth as well, as you can just grab an NPC from behind and move them to a secluded location, like a closet or a bathroom, where you can safely knock them out or hide the body. It's a fast and efficient way to deal with annoying NPCs standing in your way, so it doesn't make a lot of sense why it was removed. And I can say the same thing about point shooting. It's another feature that was present in the previous game as well as the early beta of 2016, but was missing in the final product. Now, I understand well that this is a stealth game, so it's not necessary, but I couldn't disagree more. Hitman is what you make of it. Yes, it's in its core and always should be a stealth game at the forefront, and that should always be the priority, but alternative methods are never a bad thing. Plus, this feature can be especially useful to players on consoles, as we know the aim can be rather difficult, and for example, being able to slow down time and focus on a small objective, like shooting the disco ball in Berlin or the haystack in Colorado, can be very useful, as Hitman at its core requires flawless executions. Something else I would add is the possibility of having both loud and stealth takedowns. Most players won't have non-lethal melee present on them at the very start of a level, and instead of wasting time choking someone out, if you see no one around, you can just use force for a quick and effective takedown. Plus, it could be used for a lure to other guards in the vicinity as they will come to check, allowing you to pick them off or move past them. Another one which is pretty obvious to me is simply making the coins and fiber wire a default item. There's virtually no reason not to do that. It's one of Agent 47's most iconic weapons, yet very few people use it because they don't have space for it. If you just make it a default gadget, it will allow it to come back into the meta. Same thing for the coins, which are small to carry and extremely useful. By making these items default, it will allow players to finally put some of their additional items to use, as they'll now finally have space for them. Some of the new items I will introduce are a collapsible ladder and a rope, allowing you to gain access to the upper floors more easily. One feature I'm sure most people would like is a first-person mode being added as an alternative. Now, I personally am not a big fan of first-person, but I can understand some people are. It's actually not too crazy or difficult to add it, as plenty of games have it already, Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA Online. It's a lot easier to add first-person mode to a third-person game than it is to add third-person mode on a first-person game. Cyberpunk is a clear example. And finally, something that I've talked about for years now is the minimap having trespassing areas clearly distinguished from the rest and updating themselves based on the disguise you are wearing. I mean, this is simple stuff, it's not that hard to create. It was something featured in the early beta that was removed from the finished product. Make no mistake about it, all things featured so far are completely possible and have all been featured either in previous games or other games from this caliber. However, there's one extremely important change, a change so big yet necessary it deserves its own category, and that is the maps. Now, the maps in Hitman 3 were especially good in my opinion. They were the best maps in the entire Hitman series as a whole, not visually or atmosphere-like, but when it came to their level design. The freedom of approach for the majority of the Hitman 3 maps was outstanding. You had so many different options for how you wanted to infiltrate its many diverse locations. That level of freedom of approach needs to remain for the future. However, it can use certain improvements. For starters, the most important one of the bunch is a day and night cycle. Now, although not possible for all maps, it's something that should be featured on the vast majority of them. The ability to go after your targets depending on the time of day is a great concept. For example, in Miami, taking place in the daytime, Robert Knox is walking around the upper floors of the Expo building while Sierra is racing. At night, you can have Robert roaming around the lower portions of the building while Sierra is having a party in the driver's lounge and walking around the garage pits. Doing it in this manner will allow players to fully explore the map, as the targets will be in different locations depending on the time of day. It means that you will have different mission stories, some exclusive for the daytime and others for the nighttime iteration. Also, I would add a feature that allows 47 to speed up in-game time and loops by reading a newspaper or fitting in. One of the biggest shortcomings of certain targets today is their loop takes forever, and even if you plan a trap, you have to just sit there and wait for minutes on end, which isn't very fun. Doing it in this way will allow you to just speed up everyone's loop and allow you to get things done more efficiently. I would also have carriers who are just bringing certain items from one part of the map to the other, like delivering food or certain items in which you can hide weapons, go through frisk zones and then pick them up on the other side. Again, this was a feature that was originally planned, but I assume was cut out due to time constraints. With these changes present, I think we can take already existing maps into new heights and truly give players the diversity that wasn't always present in the past. However, maps are a tool at the end of the day, a tool to tell a story. And the story of Hitman World of Assassinations hasn't really been that good. Despite the gorgeous cutscenes of 2016, the story there was rather blank. Hitman 2 story was quite decent, but the moving motion pictures made it very difficult to immerse yourself in it. And Hitman 3 story was very short and not very well told. IO needs to do better in the future. The best way to do it is to look at Hitman Absolution. There the story was very well made, all things considered. We had long and extensive cutscenes, filled with atmosphere, something that was either lacking or not at all present in the new ones. IO keeps saying that they shouldn't make serious stories anymore, that it's no longer viable, and instead like to do these Marvel stories, where all the heroes are constantly winking at each other. But that's nonsense. There's so many people who've grown tired of that type of storytelling, forcing humor into situations where it just does not belong, and not taking the characters and itself seriously is a recipe for a disaster. No one knows it better than Saints Row the reboot. I've asked countless Hitman players and they all say the same thing. We want a darker story, a story we can immerse ourselves into. Some of the best-selling games currently, the games that people love and respect, are single-player story-driven experiences like Spider-Man PS4, Red Dead Redemption 2, Arkham, Jedi Fallen Order, Witcher 3, etc, etc, etc. Sure, a Hitman game will probably not reach these heights, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Focus on a story that is based in reality, a story that has atmosphere and high stakes, and the maps should also reflect that. Don't fall into the same trap so many other developers have fallen into, including you, IO Interactive, by chasing the current trend and trying to relate. It's the worst mistake you can make. Instead, make a story that seems timeless by focusing on constant human behavior. And remember, when it comes to Agent 47, he is a chameleon. The reason he is able to copy other people's interactions and mannerisms is because he lacks his own. It's why it's so important to have strong supporting characters like Diana, Victoria, Lucas Gray. They give him purpose, they are his emotions, they are his consciousness. It's important to write them well, as they are a direct reflection of him. And talking about characters, I would actually have two characters. One obviously being 47, but the other would be a female character. Given the past stories, the best fit would be Victoria. Now, why would we want a male and female character? Well, for starters, why wouldn't we? It could make for some fun changes in gameplay, as a male and female archetypes will play somewhat differently. A male character can have takedowns more focused on strength and brute force, while with a female it can be more focused on agility and athleticism. The male character may be able to run and climb a little bit faster, but the female could be harder to spot in stealth when traversing. Also, it brings an interesting possibility when it comes to disguises. You will have male and female characters for both guards, waitresses, waiters, etc., outside of specific outfits, of course. However, you will obviously have more male guards in comparison to females, but you will also have more females in the role of maids and nurses. It brings a different solution to disguises, making them unique dependent on selected characters. And to be honest, it would make an interesting change of pace. With different strengths and weaknesses, it makes your choice matter, as now you're not only selecting the time of day, but also a specific character. It means that you really have different options for how you want to approach a mission, causing every playthrough to be significantly different. It will increase replayability tremendously. However, those characters need something to wear and wield, which is where we go to customization. Now, because the game needs to be strong in the story department, you shouldn't have too many options when it comes to the character design themselves. Maybe a couple of different hairstyles for Victoria, but nothing crazy. However, when it comes to outfits, you should have all the freedom you want. I understand some people will say that because of disguises, it's difficult to be able to customize outfits, but that's simply not the case. In Watch Dogs Legion, you can easily switch between your customized outfit and your uniform when playing as Albion officer, cop, doctor, whatever. In GTA Online, you can swap between outfits in literal seconds. And that's also the case in Spider-Man 2. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to have a custom outfit and change disguises back and forth. It's been done plenty of times in other games. And for those of you who don't care about customization, that's fine. You still have your iconic suits, which come as a one piece. But for those who enjoy doing so, there's no reason not being able to color ties, change gloves, or even add a hat or something. There are simple things that allow you to make your character more unique to you, while still keeping the story unaffected. And I can say the same thing about weapon customization, which has been gone for far too long. It was present in Hitman Blood Money all the way back in 2006, as well as every other game that has weapons in it. Being able to swap the different suppressors, aims, magazines, grips, and change their color and texture to your heart's desire, as well as choosing if you want to dual wield certain pistols or single hand them. These customization changes will allow players to use their creativity and make their loadouts unique to them, and also hopefully change their names. It's a feature that we have been lacking for far too long in recent Hitman games, despite it being prominently featured in every other game similar to it. And talk about missing features, let's get to the last one, and that is the online element. Every now and again people want to play with or against someone, and there should be modes in the game supporting that. Ghost mode is obviously one of those modes when you're able to compete against a rival player to assassinate targets, but there's so many others that can be created. A mode where you join forces with another player to assassinate targets, or a mode where one player is masked as an NPC and he has to assassinate 3 to 4 targets, while a second player is given the task of protecting these targets and hunting down the other player before he's able to complete the mission. There's quite a few possibilities for fun and enjoyable multiplayer inside of Hitman games. The problem is, they were very rarely developed. However, adding multiplayer can bring a lot of casual players to the franchise who just want to play around with their friends, and it certainly would help the popularity of the game quite significantly. These are mods that can be added later as the game progresses. It would also be pretty cool if we can get some kind of a map creator, as it is a feature people have been wanting for a while. However, it can be a little tricky to pull off. Overall, these features are quite useful and would bring a lot of variety and mix things up. Overall, it can't hurt to have it, and I can say that about pretty much all of the things that are listed. These are my ideas, this is the way I would do it. But what would you do? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, thank you very much for watching.